Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Radha Madhava ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So yeah, it's good. Thank you. Yeah. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, verse number 54. Bhaktya tvananyaya shakyam aham evam vidorjunam gyatum drashtum chatatvena praveshtum cha parantapa bhaktya tvananyaya shakya aham evam vidorjuna gyatum drashtum chatatvena praveshtum cha parantapa bhaktya tvananyaya shakya aham evam vidorjuna gyatum drashtum chatatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Please chant. Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya aham evam vidorjuna Gyatum drashtum cha tatvena pravishtum cha parantapam bhaktyatvananyaya shakya aham evam vidorjunam Gyatum drashtum cha tatvena pravishtum cha parantapam. We go word by word. Bhaktya, by devotional service. To, but. Ananyaya, without being mixed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. Shakya, possible. Aham, I. Evam vidaha, like this. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Gyatum, to know. Drashtum, to see. Cha, and. Tatvena, in fact. Praveshtum, to enter into. Cha, also. Paramtapa, O subduer of the enemy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Purport. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a four-handed form and at once changed himself in a two-handed form. These things are very difficult to understand by study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. For example, to undergo serious penances, one may observe fasting on Janmashtami, the day on which Krishna appeared, and on the 2 days of Ekadashi, the 11th day after the new moon and the 11th day after the full moon. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most munificent man of charity because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. So if one gives some amount of his money to persons involved in distributing Krishna consciousness, that charity, given to spread Krishna consciousness, is the greatest charity in the world. And if one worships as prescribed in the temples in India, there's always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress by offering worship and respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is essential, and this is confirmed in the Vedic literature. Yasya deve para bhaktir, yata deve tata gurom, tasyaite katita hyarta, prakashante mahatmanaha. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master, in whom he has similar unflinching faith, can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. One cannot understand Krishna by mental speculation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word tu is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. The personal forms of Krishna, the two-handed form and the four-handed, are described as sudurdarsham, very difficult to see. They're completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The four-handed form of Narayana and the two-handed form of Krishna are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. The words Tvat anyena na drishta purvam from the verse 47 state that before Arjuna, no one had seen that universal form. Also, they suggest that amongst the devotees, there was no necessity of showing it. That form was exhibited by Krishna at the request of Arjuna, so that in the future, when one represents himself as an incarnation of God, people can ask to see his universal form. The word na, used repeatedly in the previous verse, indicates that one should not be very much proud of such credentials as an academic education in Vedic literature. One must take to the devotional service of Krishna. Only then can one attempt to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayana and then to his own natural form of two hands. This indicates that the four-handed forms and other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanations of the original two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, what to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Yasyai kanishvasita kalam atavalambhyam jivanti loma vilaja jagat andanata vishnur mahansa ihayasya kala vishesho govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The Mahavishnu, into whom all the innumerable universes enter and from whom they come forth again simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore, I worship Govinda, Krishna, the cause of all causes. Therefore, one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has eternal bliss and knowledge. He is the source of all forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all forms of incarnation, and he is the original Supreme Personality, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. In the Vedic literature, Gopalatapani Upanishad, the following statement appears. Sachitananda Rupaya Krishnaya Klishta Karine Namo Vedanta Vedyaya Gurave Buddhi Sakshine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna, who has a transcendental form of bliss, eternity, and knowledge. I offer my respect to him because understanding him means understanding the Vedas, and he is therefore the supreme spiritual master. Then it is said, Krishno vai paramam daivatam. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Jai Shri Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Narasimhadeva ki Jai. Ekovashi sarvaga Krishna idyaha. That one Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and he is worshipable. Ekopi san bahuda yovabhati. Krishna is one, but he is manifested in unlimited forms and expanded incarnations. The Brahma Samhita says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. Elsewhere it is stated, Yatravatirnam Krishna Kyam Param Brahma Narakriti. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person, his name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find a description of all kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this list, the name of Krishna also appears. But then it is said that this Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Etecham shakala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Svayam. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mata parataram nanyat. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead, Krishna. He also says elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, Aham adir hidevanam. I am the origin of all the demigods. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms this in the following words. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna shows to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form. The universal form, with its thousands and thousands of heads and hands, is manifest just to draw the attention of those who have no love for God. It is not God's original form. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna, who was intimately related with Krishna in friendship, this form of the universal manifestation was not pleasing. Rather, it was fearful. Arjuna, who was a constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by fruitive activities, but to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear. So I'll chant the verse again after I scroll the purport. It's lengthy, but it just was worth reading. So bhaktyatva nanyaya shakya aham evam vidorjuna gyatum drashtum cha tatvena pravishtum cha parantapa. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimata Bhakti Kasha Swami Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimata Bhakti Charu Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatyadeshatarine. Okay, so I wanted to start with a quick recap of this week's verses. So we started with 1151, in which Arjuna was saying that he was feeling relieved. He saw Krishna again in his human-like form, his Manusham Rupam, and he's saying this form is very beautiful. It is Somyam. And he said, I feel now composed in mind, and I feel restored again to my own nature. And then in the verse 1152, 2, then Krishna started speaking and he said, actually, this form of mine, it is very difficult to be seen. And he's saying that demigods, they are seeking over and over to be able to see, to behold this form. And then in the verse 11:53, then Krishna is explaining how he cannot be seen. And he said, I cannot be seen by Veda, Tapa, Dana, or Ijya. So on itself, study of Vedic literature will not give you my darshan. On itself, the penances, austerities will not give you my darshan. The charity you give on itself will not give you my darshan. And the worship you do will not give you my darshan. There are 2 realms of existence. We say 2 platforms. Can you help me name which 2 are there? We exist on 2 different platforms. One is material and spiritual, yeah. Now we look into the material one. On the material platform, there are 2 different levels of existence as well. We say we exist in 2 different bodies on the material platform, those being gross and subtle body. And then on the subtle level of existence, there are 3 different layers on which we exist. 3 different components of the subtle body are an ego. Okay. So now let's try to see if we take, he said, I cannot be perceived by Veda, by the study of Vedic literature. So which layer of existence are we using the most when we study the literature? Intelligence, yes. The subtle material body, the intelligence is mostly used, yes. And then he said tapa, austerities. When we do austerities, which layer of existence is mostly used in tapa? The gross body, yeah. Could be. I'm gathering answers. I don't have all the answers myself. So when we say dana, charity, any ideas? Like giving away money? Would that also be like gross material level of existence? I was thinking, because money, then it's an expansion of oneself. This is my money, aham mameti, so this is my money, I'm giving it away. So it could be also a gross material manifestation. And then when we say worship, any ideas which level of existence is mostly engaged? Yes, body and the mind, true. Intelligence also, you have to understand the different, what to do, what not to do, Because like we do worship every day, we come to the temple and we see the Lord, we see his deity form, and we see how nicely, beautifully he's decorated and dressed, and we sing and we dance in front of the Lord. But do we really see the person? That is now the question in our worship. Do we really see because if you want to see a person, you ought to have some kind of a relationship with that person. And so if we actually want to see Krishna as he is, we ought to look at him as we are, as the soul. I'm just now reading a section of Bhagavad where Prahlad Maharaj is refuting the praise of Narada Muni, who was his guru. And the thing is, Narada Muni was sent to Sutala Loka to meet Prahlad Maharaj on the request of Lord Shiva. In the Bhagavad Narada Muni is traveling around meeting different personalities, and he's searching for the one who has Krishna's mercy in full. So he was, by different personalities, he was first sent to Lord Shiva, who by the Vedas we know he is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. And Lord Shiva says, no. You should go to the Prahlad Maharaj. Because Prahlad Maharaj, he is the true recipient of Krishna's mercy. But then when Narada Muni came to Prahlad and praised him, Narada Muni felt really embarrassed. And he said, actually, no, I'm not really recipient of Krishna's mercy. I only had his darshan once. Twice, actually, but we'll just say once, the very known story that we know of Lord Nrsimhadeva appearing from the pillar to protect his beloved devotee. He said, I only had his darshan once. Plus, I didn't do any seva. All I did, I just meditated on him. And on top of that, I was a young child and I was fearful. I couldn't even, show proper respect. I couldn't even glorify him in a proper way. And then he said, and on top of that, actually Lord Narasimha, he didn't come for me. He came to kill my father on the request of demigods. So I'm not a true recipient of Krishna's mercy. Now, of course, Prahlad Maharaj is speaking out of humility, but to make a point and to make an example, we'll take his words because they are sincere. They are the sincere words of a pure devotee. And then Prahlad Maharaj says, you go to Hanuman. Because Hanuman, he has darshan of his Lord, a lot of his personal association, and he did tremendous seva, manual seva, for his worshipable Lord. So now, if we think about this, how Prahlad Maharaj said, I only seen Lord once. I only had a short glimpse of him. And then we see how Krishna himself is saying in the previous verse, in the two verses, so 11:52, he's saying, it is very difficult to see me. Then we think about our position and we can just ask ourselves, what are we doing here? But I recently just heard a lecture by Srila Prabhupada in which he said that it is not difficult to see the Lord. We only need to qualify. And how do we qualify? He used this famous metaphor, beautiful metaphor. He said, we need to smear our eyes with the ointment of love. And this ointment cannot be purchased in a drugstore. We have to make it ourselves. We have to find it in our heart and we need to offer it to the Lord. So we said before, like if you want to see a person, you ought to have some kind of a relationship with that person. Like Arjuna and Krishna, they're friends, right? And can you imagine, like you have a friend, how do you feel with your friend? Comfortable, yes. You feel yourself. You feel like, sitting down with that person, just chilling. Yeah. Now imagine your friend, you're sitting with your friend chilling. He stands up and expands himself, like thousands of heads and hands, and starts vomiting fire. I mean, you would most probably experience a different kind of chill. Like Arjuna, no, he was completely bewildered. He wanted to pay obeisances. He didn't know which way to turn. And even you want to talk to the person, like, which head do I look at when I say something? There are thousands of heads, like, who's going to receive my message? So in this lengthy purport that we just read, and I really wanted to read it so that I can stress right now that Prabhupada is establishing very firmly and very thoroughly from different kind of scriptures that the two-handed form of Krishna, it is the supremost form. It is the form from which all the other forms are emanating. And this is the form with which we want a relationship with. This is the form into which we want to invest our love. And so we said Arjuna, Krishna, they were friends. There are 5 types of relationship possible. They're named in Vedic literature. So can we name the other 4 besides friendship, besides Sakya relationship? There are 4 others. Mm-hmm. Yes. Parental, yes. And conjugal relationship, yeah. Now let's try to find some examples from our scriptures. Now for the Sakya, for the friendship, we have Krishna and Arjuna. we have Krishna and the Gopas. And for parental, Krishna and who has this rasa with Krishna? Mother Yashoda, she does, yeah, Nanda Maharaj, father. Also Devaki and Vasudeva, different flavor, but the same rasa. And then we have conjugal relationship, Krishna and Radha. Krishna and all the 16,108 queens of in Dwaraka also, they have this kind of relationship. Then servitorship, we mentioned today already. So Prahlad Maharaj was appointing his guru to see Hanuman and Lord Ramachandra. It's a really inspiring and strong relationship of servitorship. And neutral, any ideas? The Kumaras, okay, yeah. I was thinking Jai and Vijay, but I wasn't sure. But the Kumaras, that's, I think, better answer. Good. So it is like this on the material platform as well. If you are in a conjugal relationship with someone, that person is to you the most beautiful, the most attractive person ever. Like when you get married, your spouse is like the most beautiful person in the whole wide world. When you become a parent, like I can say from my own experience, I've worked with children for over 17 years. And I've seen children are cute, they're beautiful. I've seen many, many, many beautiful faces. But then I got my own child, and my own child is, for me, the most beautiful child there ever is. And you can ask any parent, they will say the same thing. So when you actually have a relationship, you see that person as very beautiful, very attractive. And if we are serious on our spiritual paths, then our endeavor should be that we see the beauty of Krishna, who is the most beautiful, who is all attractive. And since we're in the month of Kartik, we can maybe look into the childhood beauty of Krishna as seen by Mother Yashoda in a verse that we are singing every single day. This is the 5th verse of the Madhurashtakam. And I'll just, so that I don't mess it up, I'll take the songbook. Yeah? Spela zraven. So you can sing it with me. Should we do it with harmonium? Just one verse we'll sing, but still we can. Idam te mukam bojam matyantan nilai vritam kuntalai snigdaraktascha gopyam Kambojam matyantan nilai vritam kuntalai snigdaraktascha gopyam Muhushchumbitam bimbaraktadarame Manasya virastamalam lakshalabai Muhushchumbitam bimbaraktadarame Manasya virastamalam lakshalabai. And in this verse, it is said that Krishna's beautiful lotus-like face is encircled by locks of soft black hair that are tinged with red. And it is said that Mata Yashoda is kissing this face over and over and over again. And then it is said that his lips, they are red like the bimba fruit. And the author is then saying that he wishes for a benediction, that he would always see this beautiful face within his heart. And he's saying, thousands and thousands of other benedictions, they are of no use to me. So in this month of Kartik, I wish us all that we get a glimpse of this all-attractive beauty of Krishna. So thank you. And if somebody would like to share something or add something that was said, now we have a few minutes before Gora Arati.
Hare Krishna, thank you for a nice lecture, Mataji. You talked also about that we need to qualify ourselves to see Krishna and to smear our eyes with the love of God.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a little general question again, but I would like to ask, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on this point, how we can practically do it, or how we can, advance more sincerely and more quickly in Krishna consciousness to really perceive Krishna.
So we were remember we were talking about on which level we do certain activities, like dhyana or in yoga and tapa and all of these things. All of these activities, like it's Prabhupada is saying, on itself, they're not bhakti. But if they are the means to get bhakti, then they will evoke it. Like if you give a charity, in this purport Prabhupada is saying, if you give a charity to a person who is Krishna conscious and is spreading Krishna consciousness, that will help your advancement in bhakti as well. If you fast on Janmashtami, on Ekadashi, that will help your advancement in the spiritual, on the spiritual path, in the spiritual journey. So I think, there, on all the layers of existence that we mentioned, we need to engage ourselves. Because that is the goal, actually, to be engaged 24/7 in the... Nityananda, Jiviva Ekachakri. Sorry. So, we engage our minds, our intelligence, even our false egos, and we engage in our gross bodies as well, in devotional service. And we do it externally. The practice of worship can be seen externally, and we do it internally by the study and by the absorption in the pastimes of Krishna. So I would say like this, but it is a good question, because I guess we're all always wondering, when will I advance, and when will I have a glimpse of Krishna? And then we read a story like Prahlad Maharaj saying, I only saw him once, and who am I to even consider? But Prabhupada is saying it is possible. So within the program and the process that is given to us, if we take the program and the process to the heart, then our heart should crack open. And also one thing in this purport that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, that Krishna can be seen by revelation when we sincerely serve, and when we engage ourselves in being trained by the spiritual master. So this relationships, guru-disciple, is really important for our advancement on the spiritual path. When we are ready, then Krishna does send us somebody through which we can learn what it means to love Krishna. I remember when I first read The Ocean of Mercy by Bhakti Charu Swami, I didn't yet know that this will become my guru in the future. But when I first read the book, I felt like I wish I had a little bit of this love that Bhakticharu Swami Maharaj has for Srila Prabhupada. I really had a sincere desire to had just like a little bit of, the intensity of his love was, unapproachable, is unapproachable for somebody like me, but I had a sincere desire to have a little bit of that. And then when you're establishing the relationship, when you start the training, engaging all of your existence, gradually and slowly, not jumping ahead, but taking one step at a time and allowing yourself to, not be perfect, because we're humans. And slowly, even when you think, oh, I'm not advancing at all, think about where you were 10 years ago and where you are now. What state of mind, what even your gross circumstances, how they've changed. And you see the difference, and then you can see, okay, so something actually is working. Something actually is happening. So, is that okay? So, thank you. So, thank you all for being here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindubhya evacha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.